but she's been, she's been a special ed kid since she was born, but she's always been in a mainstreamed classroom. But, and it's always trying to tell the teachers, like, you don't have to do anything special, just don't let her be in the back of the class. Other than that, Jeannie handles herself.
Right. Oh, your 11-year-old is partially deaf?
There you go.
Yeah.
Ours is basically like a robo-child. She's blind, she's got hearing aids, she's, she walks funny because of the left side. But
it actually surprised me because she's getting her hearing aids and she wants them.
She's getting a new one.
Yeah, and she really wants them.
She's struggling in the back of the classroom, so you know what? I mean, they need to move her up. It's not too bad. She needs a hearing aid. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So until she gets the hearing aid, what ends up happening is that they have to get different ones, and it takes a long time in between because of insurance or whatever, and just move them up in the classroom, move her up to the front of the class. That helped with our daughter a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Today.
We're talking about working with your spouse.
We figure that we're here at a conference together.
Right. And very few guys here. This is what I find it very funny because they think I'm here and I brought my husband.
Right.
And we are complete partners. There's no, I might talk more. But that means that
smarter than I am. That's why he's got better stuff to say.
No, I'm just more talkative than he is. I don't think I ever went through a shy period. That's my problem.
No, I'm technically shy. Can't you tell?
Yeah. No, but he's our tech guy. I mean, he does all the tech stuff. He's a great writer. So working together. A lot of people ask us that. It's like, why do you work together, or how do you work together? In fact, last night that was the main topic of conversation. You guys actually work together? Like, we have two separate office buildings.
Now realize, this isn't the first time we've worked together. We've worked together a good chunk of our professional careers at this point.
Right.
Now, when she was clinical director, I was the quality assurance director of the same place. So, we would sit, and we were both senior staff, so we would sit there at meetings and hash things out, and no, that's not how we met. We actually met at a party at her house.
I met my own husband in my own house.
My girlfriend at the time.
I was working at a community college as a counselor, and I had a party. Funny thing was that I was in the office that I was in, there was like the older students in the community college who were older than me because I was really young when I first started. Yes, he did. So I had a party, and then I invited all the older students that that worked there, and he came with his girlfriend. We all happened to have gone to the same high school, but he was older than me. But yeah,
we didn't know each other.
We didn't know each other in high school because he was such a geek that he was lost.
Right.
I did know him by sight because it was a small high school. I probably saw him in the yearbook and laughed at him. But yeah, that's where I met my husband, in my house. You went to school with my cousin.
Yeah.
You were in the same class with my cousin. They actually knew each other.
Yeah.
But I didn't know him in high school. And that's how we got together.
Yeah.
Because, of course, he had the girlfriend, and I was like, no, I'm just going to knock her off.
And you did.
And I did.
Yeah. We moved her.
Yeah. I didn't notice him for the longest time. I mean, we were all friends and stuff, but I didn't notice him.
Yeah. But yeah, we worked together a lot, and so when we were working in the substance abuse field,
lots of substance.
Yeah, by the nature of our jobs, it was we needed to kind of disagree with each other.
Right.
And that my job was to tell her department to do it a certain way that really wasn't the best way, but had to be done that way.
And to be specific, it was a rehabilitation facility. Mm-hmm. So when he says my department, it was the facility.
The whole facility, right?
It was everything. Yeah. Every program that ran out of there, I had a piece of. I had, it had to go through me. So when you're saying you have to change things, it's like, dude, just because your paper says so, that isn't proper therapy.
Right.
And, you know, I'm not going to hurt people just because some pencil pusher up in Tallahassee says that this has to be that way, or up in Washington, you know, depending on what kind of money you were talking about, what kind of grants. And so yeah, we would hash things out. I mean, we would argue in these senior staff meetings, and of course everybody that was there, you know, like all the other managers and directors, we kind of just, you know, do one of those, oh shit,
they're
arguing.
Mommy and Daddy are arguing.
And then we'd finish the meeting, and, you know, we'd grab our coffee mugs and walk out hand in hand, and like nothing happened.
Right.
Because nothing did happen. You know, it's funny because that's really the crux of the problem, right there. The idea that you don't think that that working together somehow is part of your marriage, and it really isn't. It just happens to be that I get to work with someone I really, really like, and it does enhance the marriage, but we don't allow it to take anything away. And that makes
I mean, it makes sense to me. Yeah, you have to separate the two. Yeah,
there's complete separation with what we do. I mean, even there isn't and there is. You know, it's like, but we have, let's say, you know, if we're on a date, our idea of a date is really just talking business, because it's the only time we can do that. That without, you know, the kids, you know, mommy or daddy. And we'll be, even if we're doing, just watching TV, like watching our favorite shows or whatever, he'll put the TV on pause and turn to me and, like, give me an idea about something. It's like, oh, look at, you know, what about this? Or, you know, I'll be like, hey, don't forget to, you know, so it's okay to do that.
Realize we're both workaholics.
Yeah.
So it's not like we, you know, that's a whole different issue that we just happen to share.
Right. But, you know, and the thing is that, you know, anybody who writes knows that, you know, it's not a 9-to-5 job. You write when you can write, and you write when you feel like writing. And so, because it's not a 9-to-5 job, because it's not something you punch in for or punch out for, you tend to, you know, lose the boundary between your life and your work. And that's something that we're constantly struggling with, how to stop.
Especially,
and you know what? I don't think everyone can do that either. And that was one of the things that I kept telling people last night. Like, you know, we don't advocate for people to work together.
No.
We don't tell people, hey, you really should work together.
We're just saying it's possible.
We're saying it's possible. Most people don't think that it is.
And I actually think that the lesson is not the working together, but the being together. You know, that we can extrapolate the fact that we can work together, and some people can, into, you know, how to be married.
But it's also, you know, it's a great lesson to being able to work together, because the same principles we use to being able to work together, we use to being together. So when we tell people,
really what I was just trying to say, but
really?
you said it better.
When we talk about being in a relationship and being married, our biggest thing is, you know, you have to establish boundaries. Even when, you know, it's like, and people think that that's almost like an anathema to being married, you know, because, you know, you're married, you're sharing everything, you're having sex, like what more, how can you have a boundary when you share absolutely everything? It's important, and this is why marriages fail, is because they lose their boundaries. And so, like, if you're working together, what you learn from that is that you establish your boundaries. Okay? One of the biggest parts of boundary setting is, what's your job? Now, because of all, you know, the women's living and, you know, getting dad to be more participatory in fathering and household needs and all that, we've lost a lot of boundaries. And I think that has contributed a lot to the skyrocketing divorce rate. Because we don't know what our roles are anymore. We don't know what's my job, what am I supposed to be doing. We assume that, you know, it's like, if I'm doing it, you better be doing it too.
I mean, in the 50s, for good or bad, everybody knew their roles. You know, dad, you know, the male went out, worked, came home at, you know, by, you know, 5:30, he should be home. The wife was at home, she cooked, she cleaned, you know. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not advocating that we go back to those roles. I am advocating that we establish them.
Yeah. And the thing, the best part is that you go with what your strengths and weaknesses are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and a lot of couples are afraid to get into that conversation.
Right.
Because we're so wrapped up in this idea that, you know, we really can't show what our weaknesses are.
Mm-hmm.
Don't acknowledge what my weakness is for sure. You know, and I'm not going to acknowledge it. So if we're going to maintain that facade of, you know, I got my crap together, it's like, well, then you really can't be married. And you see how that's a detrimental way of thinking to being married. And to working together, that's even worse. You know, it's like when you're working together, you need to know what your limitations are. You know, it's like, who was the comedian that did the Know Your Role?
That's funny. I don't remember who it was.
I don't know, but there was a comedian who did a whole thing on Know Your Role, and it was funny and so poignant. You know, it's like, if you know that your role is to be Mommy Earth Mother, and you can be everything to that child, then great, fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
If you expect your husband to be Daddy Earth Father, and he's not, that isn't who he is,
mm-hmm.
he can't be that person, then that's going to put the strain on him.
Right.
There's that expectation
mm-hmm.
that he has to look a certain way, and that's not going to work. So if you liken that to working together, it's like, I write really fast. You know, I could knock out like a 600-word post in 20 minutes, easily. Paul does not work that way. Not even a little bit. And
I'm getting better.
No, you're getting much better at that. But that's not his process.
Right.
And so I have to accept that this is, you know, it's one of those things like, okay, well, you know, we got to hurry up and do this and this. You just want me to knock that out for you.
Right.
And it's not said in this condescending way. It's just said because it's a partnership.
Right.
Like, we have a job to do. It's not ego thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and I want to go over all that stuff because all that stuff is really important for relationships. Where's everybody? Nobody's here.
Well, I think something happened. So, because we stopped taping and then I got us taping again, so I think something happened. I think that's one of the reasons why we don't have so much people. Some guy Venus here. Hi.
Oh, we're really we're slow.
Really? Why are you so slow? We're doing this from a hotel, so I don't know exactly what's going on. You know, but okay. We're doing our show. Okay. Whatever. If people miss us, then that's their loss.
So anyway, so what are we talking about? Okay, ego. A lot of people talk about ego, and there's a lot of, if you read some of the self-help stuff, they're always talking to you about getting rid of your ego and
very Buddhist.
Very Buddhist, get it out of the way, you know. And that's all well and good, you know. And the Buddhists are nice people. And, you know, but here's the thing. You need to have an ego.
Mm-hmm.
Ego gets you out of bed in the morning.
Right.
Ego makes you take a shower. You know, ego tells you that you should eat. Ego tells you should stop eating. Ego tells you pretty much what you need to do to survive as a human being.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's really your basic survival mode is ego. So when people tell me things like, I need to get my ego out of the way, it's like, okay, be very specific on what you're talking about
mm-hmm.
and what ego is. When you're talking about that pride, that's one little sliver of what ego is. And to be healthy, to establish boundaries, you can't always get rid of the pride.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So, ego say to go. Sleepy today.
Oh yeah, I wonder
I
why.
don't know.
Um,
I don't know, 3 days of driving.
mm-hmm.
3 days of driving, 1 night of drinking.
Yeah.
Can't
Can't figure out why
can't figure it out.
we would like a nap.
Yeah. But we can't because we have stuff to get.
That's
Like,
right.
okay, just to give you an idea of how weird this is, at 11:15 at night, we're already, like, you know, in our skivvies, like, getting ready for bed, you know, half buzzed and all that.
Yeah.
Some guy came to our door and gave us a bunch of stuff, including that. And it's like, what the hell? Who the hell sent us that? All we know is, I know. You know, it's perfect because after hearing, you know, that, you know, our son had, oh, I see.
Oh, it actually has everything right on where it came from. Oh, thank you.
It tells us what booth to go to. But yeah, we have Mrs. Potato Head and Mr. Potato Head.
Yep.
We got a bunch of other things from Pure and all this stuff. So yeah, so it's crazy down there, and can't wait to go down.
Anyhow, so you were talking about ego.
Ego, I know, I'm losing my train of
It's
thought.
not so much a getting rid of your ego, but a acknowledging what your ego is saying.
Yeah, you see, that's the thing that I love about couples. It's like, oh yeah, no, we share absolutely everything, but don't you dare tell me what I can't do.
Yeah.
You know, because that's where your ego is. That's the bad ego. That gets people into trouble. That's the ego that the Buddhists are talking about. That's the ego that messes you up and doesn't let you have what you want in your life. Not the other kind of ego. So when you're saying your strengths and weaknesses, you know, he knows that I have, you know, one of my biggest weaknesses is being patient. I don't do that very well. Neither does he, for that matter. He's a little better at it than I am. But even being able to say that, most spouses would react to the, well, what do you know, I'm more patient than you are, because it becomes this competition.
Right.
Now, if you are in competition with your spouse, never work with them.
No.
And since most couples are in competition in some way, they can't work together. That's really the bottom line.
That is where
you know,
things fall apart.
You know, a lot of men would get very upset about the fact that I'm more recognizable. Because I talk more, and I know that. He's okay with it. He's like, you know, go, 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 go.
And actually, I'm more than okay with it, because if you take it from a very practical business, let's move my ego out of the way, I want her to be more recognizable. This is, what we work in right now is really a female-dominant world. You're a female. Dominate. Yeah. You know, do what you need to do.
Mud wrestle.
Mud wrestle. I don't care what it is. Yes, do what you need to do.
Yeah. And it all stems from, like, how your marriage is. You know, like, if you're sitting there and you keep score on things, you know, how many times you pick up, you know, your kid from school, or how often you make dinner as opposed to your spouse, or, you know, do you clean and they not clean, or, you know, the kids call for you in the middle of the night and they don't call for him. If you keep score like that, then you're going to have an issue.
Right.
Because sooner or later, the score sheet's going to really be completely off balance. Because it's going to be. Because you have your strengths and you have your weaknesses. I mean, for me, I don't sleep well at night. I never have slept well at night. So Paul always has night duty. We've always called him the night shift.
Right.
So in the middle of the night, our kids call for him.
Right.
You know,
I'm the night shift, so they should.
the night shift now. However, and those are usually for things like water, IPs, things like that.
Yes.
Now,
Cover me. I don't know why.
I like that
Frickin'
one.
3-year-old can't seem to work a blanket. I don't know what that problem is.
But if there's a bad, that's my job.
Mm-hmm.
Because he has no patience for that.
No.
He doesn't get, because I have night terrors, I get those, I understand what the process is and how scary those are. So I could do that. That is easier for me to put them to bed, doing that. The other stuff, I just get all flustered. Plus, I can't go back to sleep.
Right. I mean, that's really where it came from, is that, you know, for the multiple brief thing is, you know, the multiple brief things is one thing, because you can't fall back to sleep. But if it's a long, you know, there's a process to it, like the night terrors, go for it.
Yeah. He has a hard time. He gets very impatient with it.
I want to go back to sleep.
Because he doesn't understand the process. So I'll sit there with him.
I want to go back to sleep.
I know you want to go back to sleep. I already know I can't at that point. So, you know, I could sit with them and do that. See, that's the thing, you know, it's like knowing what you're good at, knowing what you're bad at, and being okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that is really just removing your ego from it, removing your pride from that. You know, it's like, I'm good at this, I'm not good at this. So I'm not going to try this. You know, I am better at planning. Paul, not so much.
No.
Paul does not plan like I do.
Mm-hmm.
He likes the way I plan.
Yeah.
He likes how I plan. But when we've had him try it,
not very successful.
Because he doesn't think, I mean, he's like, you know, I was talking to the Chevy people and you know, I told them what our plans were, and then they were like, wow, you're like very detailed. And I'm like, you know, I don't think that women are happy unless they're planning something. Because I really do believe that that is a woman trait. That the ability to break things down and plan things out and make sure that everyone gets what they need, you know, that is a very mommy trait, very woman trait. I'm always planning, exactly. And for me, as soon as I have to plan something, it's like this, I get all excited because I enjoy whatever I have to plan. Doesn't matter. Oh, we got to take the kids to the doctor. Okay, no problem. You're going to take the kids to the doctor because while you're doing that, I'm going to go do this, this, and this, and this, and that. And then I constantly, you know, I keep the schedule for the family because that's my strong suit. That's what I'm good at. It doesn't mean that I have to take kids to every appointment because Paul can do that too. Now, when we were, you know, before, that wasn't the case because I would, not that he couldn't do it, it's that I wouldn't let him do it. I wanted to always do it. That I always wanted to do it, and then what that showed was that was ego stuff. That was, you know, mommy needs to be there. You know, he can't get a shot without mommy there. And that was that was my own crap. That was not yours or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. I mean, just like Monday, you took the 3-year-old to get his vaccination, and I wasn't there.
No. That's it.
No. I didn't have to hold him. Then again, the 3-year-old is like, you know,
he is
very tough. He's such a tough kid, you know. It's like, you know, oh, I got a shot.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, I get home, I'm like, show me your shot. And he shows me the Band-Aid. He's like, okay, I'm done with the Band-Aid. Just take that thing off. Yeah, did he think that you were ripping off a Band-Aid? No, not really. You wanted to look at it. Yeah, I thought it was cool. But he is a tough little guy.
He is tough.
He's a tough boy.
But the flip side, I held him, and, you know, I didn't just say, you know, push up, and, you know, I did
Not even one?
I didn't need to. Really. Not with him. I definitely need to. He's more likely to look at me and, you know, it's like, hey, you pussy, why are you crying?
That's true.
Yeah.
He is a scary little guy.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay.
What else was there?
So, ego out of the way. Now, boundaries?
Yeah, but the boundaries, you have jobs, you know, and I think that that's important in marriage as well. Like, this is your job, this is my job. This is your job, this is my job. There is no need for you to be equitable in a marriage. I will explain myself.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't need to be equitable. You know, it doesn't need to be like tit for tat. And because when we do tit for tat, then we're in competition. So like, you know, I am one of those people that you know, maybe I sound very old-fashioned, but I'm okay with, okay, you work, great, fantastic. You know, then, you know, you don't have to do certain things. Mm-hmm. You know, and because you've been working, and that's great, and that's fantastic. But at the same time, I'm not the kind that, I mean, because when Paul worked, it was when he worked outside of the home.
Yeah.
It was, you know, he'd come home and he tried to do everything. He wanted to be there for me, for the kids, for and it's like, you
that
can't.
Was my
yeah, that you can't do that. You're exhausted. You're tired.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do that. It's like, so relax. Let me handle this. We'll handle that together. Mm-hmm. You handle the kids. You know, you do your things with the kids so that you have your time with your kids, and that's all well and good. You know, I would pick them up at the train with the kids so we could have some family time, because it took them forever to get to work. It took them forever to get home. So there was very little limited family time.
Mm-hmm.
So
or even when you were clinical director.
Right.
You know, she was working very, 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 very long hours. Know that they put a lot of varies there, because they were, you know, there were times when she would work just through the night. So, and at that time we only had one child. You know, we had her oldest, and so yeah, I would be home more with, you know, with her, and it became important to do things like bring her to go see mommy. You know, because mommy was working, and it's something that we could fight about it, we could bitch about it, we could get really, you know, down on ourselves, or we could just deal with it and realize that
it freaks me out about couples when it goes, oh, you're working so many hours. Oh, why is that a fight? You know, I don't understand why that would be an argument between a couple, because it's like, if I'm working, obviously, it's not like I'm keeping all this money, and, you know, this is my job. Mm-hmm. You know, this is how I bring, you know, money home.
Yeah, I really don't know too many people who work because they get bored being independently wealthy. You know?
Yeah.
Most of the people work because they need to work. And, you know, you might be high-end, career-oriented, or you might be, you know, doing
doing a 9-to-5 job. No, a 9-to-5 job, that's fine. And my job was not 9 to 5. My job should have been 9 to 5, you know, but as a clinical director, working, you know, probably at the end of the day, I had something like about 400 something clients to be accountable for. Mm-hmm. Not that I saw these people individually in therapy. I was as the clinical director, I supervised all the therapists that worked with them. So, but ultimately their care was my responsibility. At the same time, a good half of those people were inside the residential program. So when you have things like that, you have, you know, your crazies that do stupid things. You know, you have, you know, different kinds of crazies that do other kind of stupid things.
Yeah, right.
So I would have to work a long time. Mm-hmm. And, you know, and a lot of that also was my lack of boundaries, because I could have found ways of going home, but I didn't do it because, you know, I had that perfectionistic, I wanted things to be perfect. Mm-hmm. If I knew that something was, you know, could go wrong, I didn't want people to be unsafe, and, you know, it wasn't like I was trying to get away from my family. It was just that the situation I was in was really overwhelming.
Yeah.
It was a very, very big job.
It was.
And so, yeah, he would bring Jeannie over, and we'd hang out for a little while, and then, you know, she'd go home, or, you know, they'd go home, and you know, I'd get back to work, and sometimes I'd leave the house at 2 o'clock in the morning to go to work, because somebody did something stupid and cut themselves or whatever, you know, crazy people stuff. So, but the point was respecting it, acknowledging it. This is part of what you do, and you know, and when you work together, you know, it's really respecting the amount of work you do, the type of work you do, what you're really good at, you know, acknowledging what you're bad at. You know, it's like, I don't do this well. You know, and being able, once you see those things, you know, you don't use them as an advantage. You don't take advantage of those things. Like, so now, in terms of working together for us, I know I have speed on my side.
Mm-hmm. And I do too. See, for me, that's really important. Because the moment that I kind of got the ego out of the way, stopped being offended by the fact that she can write faster, now we have speed on our side.
Right.
You know? And that's important. Yeah.
Right. So it's like where he was lacking, I pick up the slack, and now he can take that as one of his attributes.
Right.
Even though it's like, I'll be doing the writing and I'm fast, he knows that he can access that and say things like, you know what, I don't have enough time to finish that post I was going to do. Can you please just knock that out for me?
Right.
And, you know, it's like, we'll discuss it for a couple seconds. I'm like, no problem, I got your idea, and then I can go ahead and write that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and what's sad for me is, the only thing that's sad for me is, like, people don't get to see as much of his writing, and that's mostly because we're so busy creating new websites and doing things like that, because that's what he does. I don't do that. I know I don't do that because I don't know how to do that, and I acknowledge and accept the fact that I'm not the techie. He's the techie. And people are always asking, like, oh, you know, your website's so cute and everything. You know, how'd you do it? Who you designed? And I'm like, you know, I actually happen to sleep with my IT guy. It makes it really easy and cheap for me.
Ah, yes. I love being paid.
Yeah. Occasionally I'll be nice to him. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Most IT guys don't get it, you know.
most IT guys.
Yeah. My husband would need something to do. No, there's a big difference between working just because you'd be bored, which we both acknowledge that. If somebody came in and gave us all the money that we ever needed, we would still...
First, we'd be happy.
Oh, yeah. There'd be a vacation first. But then, we would still work. It would look different. Yeah. You know, but we would still work because we're... It would look different because we'd be
doing it off the back of a yacht.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But no, we are working people. I mean, we were raised to be working kinds of people. And the idea of, you know, we have a friend who... so we're working on a show idea, actually, another show idea for Mingle Media. And she will probably be on it. But she's Russian, and she enjoys her leisure time. She enjoys it so much that that's all she does. And she could actually spend her whole life next to the pool. And she's great with that. I don't get it. But, you know, just because I don't get it doesn't make it wrong. So, you know, it's like, you know, honey, this is what you like doing. You set your life up so that you don't have to do anything. I respect that. You know, I can't do it, but I respect it. I respect the fact that you do it and your right to do it. So.
And even that, I don't think, I mean, she tends to think of a lot of business ideas for somebody who's not doing anything.
But for her, she doesn't want to have to do anything.
Right.
That's different. You know, she doesn't want to have. She doesn't want the situation where she has to go to a job every day.
Right.
She wants to choose to be able to go to a job every day, and because she has the luxury of having, you know, wealthy family and stuff like that, she can do things like that. It's bothered her because, you know, of course, society doesn't really allow you to do things like that. Society wants to give you their crap of like, no, you have to work. You got to earn your keep. Well, you know, it's like, would you say that to your kid if they won the lottery when they were 20? You know, and they won like $100 million? It's like, you know, well, do what you need to do. You know, it's like, you got $100 million. Get an education. You know, it's like, fill your time up with education. And get really smart and you know, and feed your need to know if you have that. And if you don't have that, see, that would be my thing. If I had the $100 million, definitely just, you know, go to school, take classes, explore things, go on adventures. That would be my, you know, it's like we're both very education-oriented.
You
Travel.
know,
Definitely travel.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, like, you know, travel and go to school.
Yeah. Oh yeah, if I could.
Yeah.
I mean, realize I tried to do that during my bachelor as well.
Yeah. We're talking to somebody.
I was in school a long time.
We were talking to somebody last night, and you know, I'm telling you, it's like, yeah, I have a couple of master's degrees, whatever, and that I was, for my bachelor's and master's, it took me like 4 years, and then they're like, wow, yeah, that was so fast, and I'm like, oh yeah, and then Paul, of course, has to chime in with his, how many years?
At least 10.
10 years bachelor's degree.
At least 10.
Yeah. I had 2 degrees in less than half the time, and he had, you know, this day.
Yeah.
And, you know, but he enjoyed what he was doing.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah, the motorhome thing is, you know, definitely on our to-do
after
list.
driving, I actually told him this while we were driving up the coast. You know, I would love to do that. Definitely love to explore this country. We got to go to Washington, D.C. We stopped in Washington, D.C. because we were a friend there and I wasn't feeling well. But seeing the monuments was such a surreal experience for me. You know, I'm a West Coast girl. You know, born and raised in Los Angeles, Paul's West Coast. So we didn't have the facility of like going to D.C. or things like that. I mean, the most we ever did on the East Coast was like New York and Miami growing up. So it wasn't like, you know, my parents thought it was a big deal to go to D.C. because I think that, you know, you just take it for granted. Yeah, that's there somewhere. When you see it, it's just mind-boggling and you know, jaw-dropping and just overwhelming in general.
Going to see everything that the country has to offer. I agree.
Yeah.
And there's so much. And it's actually, if you kind of approach it almost like a scientist, you just start seeing the different cultures as you travel, you know, throughout the United States. Very cool.
Very pretty.
Yeah.
Very pretty. Yeah, I agree with you, Gina.
Yeah.
It would be very cool. Anyway, but you know, even then, like, you know, look at how couples, like, when as soon as they retire and they're both at home, they can't really be together because they're not comfortable with all that time together. You know, I mean, we happen to work together, we live together, we spend very little time apart. Very little time apart. I mean, the most would be like an hour or two here and there.
When one of us goes to the bathroom.
And even then, the other one might show up just for chit-chat. Yeah. Oops, I forgot to tell you. You know, so showering, no, that's not usually a known thing either. And yeah, very few. And so you'd think that we get on each other's nerves, and we don't. No.
Oh, maybe I get on yours. We never get on mine. I like being there.
I never got on yours, liar. No.
Yeah. Communication. That's something else that we should throw in. Just had a thought. Okay. Every dipshit who writes anything about or talks about relationships talks about communication, in that, you know, it's the foundation of a good marriage, etc. And we agree. Communication is really important, etc. Yeah. But just Just talking isn't enough.
Exactly. You know what? It's like we always like put it's not communication, it's effective communication. You know, just saying, hey, how was your day today? Good, how was your day? Good. You just communicated, but you didn't say anything.
Right.
You know, somebody might say, well, you know, you showed concern for the other person. Well, okay, well, you know, that's fine. But to be able to really say in few words what you need to get across, to be able to hear it without filtering it through ego and hurt feelings and all this other crap. That's effective communication.
Or to be able to say it knowing that you're filtering it through ego and things of that sort.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and being able, I mean, because you hear us saying all the time, it's like, well, no, that's my shit. That's my stuff.
Right.
That's the effective part. So if I say to him things like, listen, I know this is my stuff. You know, in other words, don't take this personal. Like, you're writing too slow. I know this is my stuff because I'm impatient. But you're writing too slow, and I want you to know that I'm irritated by that. So I might be snippy. So he's already getting that, just like, okay, fine. That doesn't mean that he needs to change anything.
Right.
It just means that, you know, you've been warned that, you know, I might snip. And it's respecting the other person's, you know, time and boundaries and all that other stuff. Because you know that, you know, sometimes some things slip out. And some things you don't mean to say to one another. It happens. You know, you get too comfortable and you disrespect without meaning to.
Feeling grouchy.
Yeah, that's just, I love it when he says things, because I'm being grouchy today. I don't even notice. I don't even know.
Not a very good grouch.
No, it's not. I would call it a bitch more than a grouch. Yeah, the bitch, I own her. Me. I respect that. So, where are we now? We got
8 minutes left.
Okay.
And I'm okay with ending this a little early.
Oh, okay, yeah, because plus I've got sinus things going on, so it keeps like making me tired. So anyway, next week I have no idea what we're going to talk about. We haven't even thought about it. We might be in Orlando checking out the 30th anniversary of The Empire Strikes Back. For Star Wars.
That made me happy.
And talking to people like, you know, George Lucas and Carrie Fisher and that. We don't know yet. Right. So that's still up in the air. But if we're doing that, then, you know,
then
all bets are off. All bets are off with talking about relationships, because he's going to be so geeked out he won't know what to do with himself. If you have a second, go and check out parentum.com, our new website talking about parenting. And if you have another second, go check out Coupledom. We're doing our little video logs about what we're doing out here on the East Coast, and they've been kind of cute and funny. And see what else? That's it, really.
That's it. Let's say goodbye.
Yeah. So, Gina, once again,
Thank you very much.
Kisses to you, kisses to Miles. And we'll see you guys next